In the foggy isolation of San Francisco Bay's top prison, Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary stood strong as a sign of no hope. Waves crashed on its rocky edges all the time. These waves stood for justice's tight grip on America's famous crooks. But in 1959, it turned into the spot where Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson's big past of power and revenge grew from one fast move of fight back. This move ended a web of race hate. It built a fear so strong, it shifted prison order. It started tales of toughness that lasted across years of inmates. This showed true power comes not from brute force but from the smart timing of effects that hang like shadows in the heads of threats. This escape-proof island prison housed around 260 hard men under tight routines and heavy guard to block any hint of trouble or breakout. It was the scene for Johnson's 7th year of a 15-year federal narcotics scheme term. He got there in June 1953 at age 54. His fame from Harlem as a numbers chief who earned millions, lived through many mob wars, and challenged the Italian Mafia's hold made him a sign of black strength and success in a world ruled by white syndicates. He gained honor from all groups through his cool way and sharp mind. This turned him into a real mark of dignity in disgrace. We view this tale through the lens of fear's shifting force and the ongoing echoes of legacy. We dig into how Johnson's clever scheme not only beat a cruel foe, but also etched his name as an unstoppable guardian. He turned into a guide for the oppressed to wield strategy as their top shield. We begin our dive with the ongoing scars left on victims and allies. This reveals the heavy prices paid in the name of equity inside those tough barriers. Imagine broad shots over the choppy bay at sunset, fading into eerie recreations of tired faces huddled in dim cells. Their gazes held the endless strain of survival. We first explore the frightening impacts on Eric Paulson. He was the 38-year-old Texas brute at 6 feet 4 inches. He carried 275 pounds of steel-like muscle from constant jail exercises. His history listed 3 murders of black men during Texas holdups from 1954 to 1956. Trial papers noted his open lack of remorse. He scoffed at the court's tag of him as a racist beast. He vowed more murders after parole. This caused his 1957 transfer to Alcatraz after assaults on black inmates in prior federal prisons. They deemed him too risky for regular spots. Paulson's shift after the clash was complete. He remained in the medical wing for a tough 2 weeks. His face kept a 7-inch slash from left cheekbone to right chin. It got sealed with 127 precise sutures that left him a permanent badge of shame. A perpendicular gash worsened it. It wrecked his right eye. This required fast operation to take out the shattered orb. It made him one-eyed forever. His physical harm got capped by the mental shatter that changed the once pushy tyrant into a silent shadow who shunned conflicts. His fast December 1959 shift to USP Leavenworth in Kansas revealed the system's quiet nod to his part as the instigator. He lingered there for the balance of his sentence until 1971 release. He faded into Texas obscurity via assorted labor roles that sustained him until his 1989 passing at 68. In scarce reflections told to pals, he would finger the enduring facial mark. He confessed with fresh modesty that physical might offered no defense against the keen blade of clever plotting. He stated his former view of being Alcatraz's chief menace got crushed in a brief nightmare. This huge shift in Paulson stemmed from his ingrained method of racial rule during his 2-year term on the Rock. He wisely skipped direct strikes to dodge endless isolation. He picked subtle ploys instead. These were apparent mishaps but firm shoves in shower zones leading to welts without formal probe. He performed daring grabs of meals from black inmates' trays at chow time to claim superiority. He issued covert whispers of slurs timed to evade guard ears. He maintained a general vibe of disdain that ranked black inmates as subhuman. He felt the prison was too soft for them. He claimed they suited better for fieldwork or janitor tasks than coexisting with white offenders of alleged true offenses. These deeds not only spread a broad terror that halted pushback, but also intimidated white inmates who sought to steer clear of tangles with his volatile temper. Some guards, though undocumented, shared akin biases that allowed his covert reign to persist. This upheld a skewed equilibrium that backed racial tiers and overlooked the mounting wrongs. It formed an environment where Paulson's assumed security expanded unchecked until it clashed with Johnson's firm poise. This triggered a chain of escalations that exposed the steep price of arrogance in a realm where survival rewarded the savvy over the brawler. To grasp the scope of this legacy's reach, consider the ripple effects on Robert Jackson. He was the lean 23-year-old at just 140 pounds. He got nabbed for postal fraud and fresh to brutality. His October 22nd rec period became a turning point when Paulson neared his solo area. Paulson snatched his book with nasty queries about requiring visuals. He mocked his literacy efforts with insults, questioning black ability for text without image aid. This built to a solid smack across the face with the book itself. He hurled him to the floor, with blood streaming from a torn lip and swelling eye contusion. Then he trashed the book in nearby filthy water. He labeled it a proper emblem of alleged inferiority. This injustice drew minimal reprisal, a brief reprimand, and forfeit of 1 rec slot. This highlighted the major gaps in oversight that demanded figures like Johnson to intervene where setups faltered. Jackson's subsequent path, defined by his 1962 discharge post-term completion, bore the permanent stamp of this vulnerability and its remedy. He promoted themes of courage and justice. This appeared in his retention of a press cutting detailing Johnson's 1968 cardiac demise at 62. It got discovered at Jackson's 1997 interment in his billfold beside a poignant autographed memo expressing eternal gratitude for the unsolicited safeguard that shattered a torment loop. This illustrated how Johnson's deed ignited the concept of defenders in the deepest gloom. He employed violence as final resort when institutional barriers collapsed. This concept links the larger canvas of uplift for the marginalized. Mirroring this concept, Marcus Williams was a companion black inmate enduring from 1958 to 1964. He supplied vital details in his 1968 interviews with penal scholars. He described how Johnson's comeback from 30 days segregation following a thorough 2-week inquiry, grilling numerous observers, confirming Paulson's extended assaults encompassing dessert swipes, shower jostles, gym denials, and non-stop slur barrages. Plus, the dining hall shove rife with intimidations elevated his esteem to fresh peaks. This instilled evident wariness among bigot factions, who thereafter muted their blatant prejudices around him. They dreaded the specter of permanent facial disfigurement. Incoming black inmates viewed him as a barrier against injustice. Even the warden's staff extended cautious courtesy. They recognized his pattern for calculated retaliations that benefited the collective during his final 4 years until November 1963 liberation. Williams belonged to the cohort of 17 ex-inmates, recounting anecdotes from 1965 to 1970. He emphasized the rapid dissemination of the incident's narrative via inmate transfers, guard gossip, and administrative logs. It extended to distant facilities like Atlanta, Leavenworth, and Marion within a year. It inspired black collectives as a blueprint for halting prejudice via strategic, resolute response. Johnson's subsequent declaration, "Lay a hand on that young brother again, utter one more racial epithet, and next time you won't see a doctor, you'll see God," evolved into a core element of inmate lore. It served as a grim alert of core.
Lethal escalation, the assault's execution, 2 slashes executed in 3 to 4 seconds using a 4-inch improvised blade concealed on his person, emerged as a cautionary exemplar on intellect surpassing bulk. This got amplified by the age and physique disparity, Johnson's 54 years versus Paulson's 38, and his massive frame. Rewinding the chronology to detail the meticulously constructed prelude, The October 21st Yard episode occurred amid the scheduled 60-minute outdoor interval. Johnson strolled the perimeter with two associates. Paulson deliberately obstructed their route. He commanded them to yield with taunts asserting a presumed racial hierarchy. He guffawed boisterously as Johnson sidestepped, sans retort. This exchange ignited fervent cell discussions that evening. Novices perceived it as frailty. Veterans detected an emerging scheme. This got validated when Johnson confided to comrades like Williams his intent to grant Paulson sufficient leeway for self-incrimination. This rendered any counterstrike appear as justified self-preservation, not initiation. It minimized reprisal hazards. This restraint aligned with the October 19th shower skirmish. Paulson invaded Johnson's stall despite ample vacant ones. He delivered a forceful shove, nearly toppling him onto the slick, hazardous tiles. He claimed the space with epithets, demanding departure. Johnson merely composedly relocated and proceeded. His serenity fueled Paulson's misguided confidence. Onlookers discerned the deliberate display of vulnerability to provoke impulsive deeds. The onset of this mounting animosity traced to October 16th's midday meal in the expansive dining hall. Johnson dined peacefully with three black companions until Paulson, tray and grasp, nonchalantly seized his modest apple pie portion while strolling by. He proceeded to his table to consume it under a gaze laden with derision. This elicited no overt reaction from Johnson beyond a fleeting glance and continued meal. He quelled his companion's budding outrage with a subtle gesture. Later, this surfaced as a deliberate tolerance to embolden further encroachments. It prepared the groundwork for a pinnacle retribution. The climax arrived on October 22nd amid evening recreation. Paulson targeted the isolated Jackson. He inquired about his reading material with sarcasm. He confiscated the book to jest about needing illustrations for comprehension. He rebuffed Jackson's courteous request for return with a ferocious facial strike that dislodged him from his bench. This culminated in the book's destruction in muck and assertions of innate subordination. Guards halted this misconduct but meted mild sanction. This lenient approach underscored the necessity for self-remedy and spurred Johnson's nocturnal huddle with black allies in the block. He forecasted an impending instruction at the forthcoming midday meal. He asserted Paulson's illusions of invulnerability via stature and ferocity would shatter against astute application of might. This foreshadowed the transformative spectacle ahead. Culminating in the notorious October 23rd midday meal around 12:15 post-meridian in the regimented dining hall, accommodating 250 at elongated tables under perpetual surveillance. Disruptions were infrequent, owing to unobstructed visibility and swift penalties. Johnson collected his rations and settled at his designated position with comrades. He commenced consumption in tranquility until Paulson violated protocol. He bypassed his assignment to approach Johnson's table with a resounding tray placement. He unleashed a volley of jeers, belittling his Harlem dominion and associates. He pivoted to instill dread by bellowing across the space at the recuperating Jackson. He threatened additional chastisement for alleged overthinking. This prompted defensive gestures among Jackson's tablemates, halted by sentry commands. Then Johnson rose. In a fluid motion, he revealed the concealed, sharpened metal implement. He traversed the 8-foot distance swiftly. He inflicted a broad lateral incision from Paulson's left facial prominence to right mandible. Immediately thereafter, he executed a vertical intersecting slash that bisected the initial and devastated the ocular organ. This caused Paulson to collapse rearward onto the surface with incessant shrieks and an expanding crimson puddle. The venue descended into chaos as sirens blared and sentries converged within 15 seconds. They encircled Johnson, who surrendered his implement and submitted sans resistance following his audible admonition. Envision amplified depictions of crimson spurts in decelerated footage. Blend with vivid montages of Harlem's bustling avenues illustrating Johnson's prior sovereignty. Contrast against the incarceration's stark hues. Enhance the narrative with interwoven recollections from chroniclers. Johnson's interrogation response asserted the deployment of requisite vigor to halt perpetual perils disregarded by overseers. He expressed regret solely for the compulsion of savagery amid deficient safeguards. The verdict, no extension to term, but additional isolation, indicated the administration's reluctance to publicize their lapse in curbing Paulson's 2-year tyranny. They opted for his discreet relocation post-recovery as tacit resolution. This vindicated Johnson's stance and amplified his guardianship over peers. It curtailed overt prejudices as adversaries absorbed the peril of irreversible disfigurement. Johnson's re-entry to Harlem post-1963 discharge recommenced his enterprises until his abrupt termination. But the Alcatraz account's proliferation via publications, oral narratives among veterans, and bureaucratic archives immortalized his doctrine. It demonstrated astute perception transcending mere savagery. The enigma surrounding the armament's concealment added intrigue. It confirmed that at 54, beyond physical prime, he vanquished a triple homicide colossus via foresight and resolute spirit. This recounting, grounded in eyewitness testimonies, illustrates the profound precept of inverted terror. 1. Defiance against bigotry's facade forged an eternal archetype of rectitude. It cautions that in penal realms, the serene observer frequently harbors supreme peril. Their deeds ascend to dismantle overlords and ignite the subjugated to seize command with meticulous precision. A rhythm that endures in the annals of United States correctional chronicles. It captivates intellects with its fusion of human frailty, tactical prowess, and the perpetual pursuit of dignity amid adversity. It delves further into the nuances of incarceration dynamics that transformed such episodes into cultural milestones. Murmurs of Johnson's exploits became armors for the vulnerable and cautions for the haughty. This ensured the terror he instilled outlasted the confines that once imprisoned him. It stands as testament to how one calculated instant can alter authority's essence in the midst of institutional inequity.